What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing well. We're going to be talking about how we can beat the competition that is steadily rising while we're out sourcing inventory for our reselling business. If you are new here to the channel, my name is Bo, full-time reseller, helping you guys kind of learn some of the basics when it comes to reselling. It's important to focus on the basics because if we don't master those, we're going to have a hard time building a foundation for our business. So I have a quick presentation to show you kind of some ideas, 5 tips on how we could become a little bit better when it comes to sourcing. Just this week, and I'll wait for more people to hop on, but this week, I have sourced more than I have over this 7 days in, the last couple months. It's like I've only been sourcing about 1 time a week for the last year, and sorry to say, but in my area, that's just not gonna cut it anymore. Going out 1 time a week is just not gonna do it for the amount of items that I need. I list 20 items a day, so therefore I need 140 items a week. And I'm not talking about just any items. I'm talking about good items with good sell-through rates and good average sale price. Since I live in a more rural area, it is difficult for me to find 140 items by just going out 1 time a week. So I used to buy a combination of wholesale. I used to buy bales. I used to buy from the Goodwill bins. We used to buy storage units, and all that worked, right? It did work to an extent, but most of us are solopreneurs. Most of us are just single people in our business, and we can't do it all, right? So when it came to buying wholesale and bulk, there's a lot of other things that go into that, like sorting and picking up these bales and all that. So we're gonna kind of go back to the basics that, like, if you were a beginner and just starting out, you're going to go to the most common things that are around you, thrift stores, maybe the Goodwill bins, maybe Facebook Marketplace. So just in my experience this week, I went sourcing 4 times, and at all 4 locations that I went to, I made a point to be early and to be first. But at the same time, thinking that I was going to be, getting there early and be like nobody in line. Just in my local area, every time that I was 20, 30 minutes early from, either the thrift store opening or the sale happening, there was already people in line or waiting in their cars. So reselling in general is so different than what it was just even a year ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the competition has risen. If you're not one of the first people in the stores, it's going to be harder and harder for you to find items. Now, what comes into play here is knowledge, right? Um, and just being able to have a little bit more knowledge than the next person. And if you're able to come in after all the resellers have picked through those items and still find profitable, valuable items, then that is where you can at least make it worth it when you're going out. But let's get into the 5 tips that I know that can be helpful for you guys, because sourcing has become more and more competitive. It's become harder to find the items that you need to be able to hit your listing goal. And we don't want to do kind of what I did last year, was fill my store up with just any old items just to hit a listing goal. So we're going to be looking at some of the strategies that I'm implementing now, or I have implemented, to be able to help you guys in your sourcing, because there's a common theme across the reselling community, that it just isn't what it used to be. And if you've gone to thrift stores before, recently, the prices aren't what they used to be. Pair of jeans used to be $5. Now it's $15. So we really need to be conscious of what we're spending and what we're putting into our store without cutting too much into our profit margin. So, how to beat the competition when sourcing inventory. So, staying ahead of the competition when sourcing inventory for your business is crucial for success. Here are some effective strategies to help you secure the best items before your competitors. And if you guys are getting value, smash the like button. And also, if you have questions just leave them in the comment section. We are here to serve you, to bring you value. If you guys have any questions on how your sales have been, what's going on in your store, I'm just here to help answer any questions that you guys might have. So, the first thing I just mentioned was being first in line. I think the days of just wandering into a thrift store at any time during the day is long gone. If you're wanting to find the best items possible, you got to get there as early as you can. Pitch a tent outside if you have to, but the competition is so fierce that people are doing whatever it takes to get those items. There's people going out every day, twice a day, three times a day, just to get those profitable items. And this just doesn't mean clothing in general, but all things. So if the person that is doing that and you're just second or third in line, that place is going to be cleaned out. For example, I went to a church mega sale that started at 8:30. I was there at 8, but they were already a line around the corner and back. And this was in a town of around 15 to 20,000 people. So if there's that many resellers in that small of a city or town, think of a city like Portland or much bigger. These places are getting cleaned out. So being first, if you have to be there an hour or two ahead of time at any yard sale or whatever, respect people's time, but get there as early as you can. The days of being second or just wandering into thrift stores is far gone. Where last year that might have worked. Sourcing more often. This is something I'm doing more and more of. So I went out 4 times this week, and I was able to find good stuff. But going out once a week is not going to cut it anymore, unless you're listing maybe 5 items a day. But most of the people on the channel are probably listing a little bit more than that. So I'm trying to at least be able to help you guys for the people that are listing, 20 plus items. You got to source almost every day now. Um, whether you're going to thrift stores or the bins, the sourcing every day and the more you source is going to determine how your reselling goes. Um, so source more often by being first in line at every opportunity or thrift store. Develop a thrift route to hit multiple locations regularly. So just get on your phone, go to every thrift store that's in your area, and then develop a route that makes sense. That's in a circle. You don't want to be driving 2 hours in one direction and then you want to make it so it's reasonable, so you're not spending a ton of time driving. So develop what I have is like a circle in my area. So I'm hitting like 6 thrift stores in a 1-hour drive, but it goes in a circle. So by the end of that last thrift store, I'm like 10 minutes from my house, 20 minutes from my house. So you want to develop that so you're maximizing your time. We also don't want to be wasting time driving. So yeah, developing a thrift route. I don't know if you guys have a thrift route, but it's so important to develop one, because you can't just haphazardly walk in. You gotta be consistent in this thrift route. You gotta hit the stores when they have their sales, write down when they do their sales, 50% off sales and all that, and then schedule it in your schedule. I hope you have a schedule. If we treat our business like a business, it will treat us in return. It's great to do reselling on the side or as a side hustle, but the moment that you start treating it like a business by developing a schedule, a sourcing route, routines and habits, they call them standard operating procedures, SOPs. Once you start developing those in your business, you're going to see such reward when it comes to doing this business. Building relationships, not just walking into thrift stores and just getting what you can, but also talking to managers, the owner, saying, hey, this is who I am. I buy 1,000 items a week or a month or a week, and developing relationships like, hey, I'm looking for this. I'm willing to pay full price. Let's do business. So what I had in mind and what is always a good idea is just calling thrift stores about buying in bulk and build that relationship to purchase certain items. Talk to them about who their supplier is so you can go direct business to business relationship. Being able to establish a relationship is key, but don't be afraid to hop on the phone. and just call every thrift store in your county, in your area within an hour or two, and call them. And I would say who you are, what you do. Ask, hey, do you get 100% of your inventory from donations only? Do you got a supplier? Because some thrift stores also work with wholesale suppliers to bring in inventory to fill their store. So those are those two things you have in mind when you are, wanting to be able to source better and build connections. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comments. We're not only just focusing on sourcing, but I'm just here to help answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, build relationships, always key in this business. Expand your sourcing channels. So if you've been on the channel for a while, I'm all about local Facebook ads. This is kind of how I found a lot of big purchases in the past, big storage unit purchases, posting in local buy and sell groups. Um, and that's just what I do. That this should be a part of any business. Marketing is a huge part of this business. And if you're not marketing, then how do you know um, what could potentially be out there? People selling out their closets, other people just going out of business, from reselling. You can have an opportunity to buy their items or cherry pick their items. So we'll go into what my ad looks like, but it's just a buy and sell ad. You're posting in a buy and sell group, and not all of these groups allow you to post an ad, but you're going to want to join as many as you can local in your area. And then these are to source the certain items you're looking for. Like I list my ad with a brand list. So, and you have a set price for the items you're willing to buy. And also doing something like what ThreadUp does or the RealReal, offer a mail-in service where people can send you their items and get paid once those items are processed. That can be an alternative for people that are, we want to have people hit the easy button, and the easier and less resistance people have to just getting money, they can just shove stuff in a box and ship them to a PO box or whatever, and you can process those items and you can pay them out. So that is a service you see more and more of people doing. So also reaching out to textile recycling businesses. These are everywhere. I don't care how small your city or town. We all wear clothing, and this clothing goes everywhere. So when we're talking about textile recyclers, we're talking just about clothing. So clothing resellers, but you're going to want to look these places up, and then you're going to want to skip trace their addresses so you could get the owner's info, their phone number, their mailing address, so you can contact them. And you may need to call a few times, but once you can call them, you could start to present who you are, what you're looking for. And typically textile recyclers are the last stop for clothing, but you could pull out so much value. You see it all the time, people going to rag houses. And yes, it is hard work, but maybe you could develop a relationship with people who are already sorting items. Say, hey, I'm willing to pay $5 to $7 for every Patagonia piece, for every Carhartt piece, for every North Face piece. Less competition in that, less people doing that, right? No one's cold calling textile recycling companies and developing these relationships. If you live out of a major city, I guarantee you that there's dozens of textile recyclers that just need to be skip traced and to be reached out and develop a relationship. And just look to give them a brand list or whatever. Everyone can go to a thrift store. Easy. Less resistance there. But not everyone knows how to post a Facebook ad. Not everyone wants to jump on the phone to cold call thrift stores. Not everyone wants to skip trace textile recycling companies' addresses to call the owners. These are all harder, but they're going to be easier in the long run if you build those relationships. So this is kind of what the ad looks like. Let's see. Yeah, so I can scroll down. I just built a simple Facebook page, Green Threads Clothing Recycling. I just had Chat GPT basically prompt it with write me a business, start me a business, and a clothing recycling business. And it popped out everything, all the information, created the icon even. So it's really easy to do nowadays. And then you're going to want to develop a page and then post this type of ad in your local buy and sell groups. I just have declutter with green threads, sell clothes $1 to $5 per item, brand and condition based pricing. So obviously, people are only going to get paid for the items that are in good condition. I picked up something last week where out of 200 items, maybe 5 items were what I got from it. I paid $5, but the rest of those items are going to either go through a porch pickup or you're going to have to donate those. So you're definitely going to have brand and condition based pricing because not everything's going to be perfect. Used to like new items accepted, sustainable family business, fresh new life for old clothes, 10% of profits donated to local churches or charities, whatever you want to do. Free contactless pickup, so people could just put it in a box outside their house and then get paid Venmo or Cash App once you process those items. So you want to make it really easy for the people, right? And what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build a direct to consumer business. So you could go B2B, business to business, or B2C, business to consumer. So this is where we're trying to get ahead of the thrift store process, jump ahead of the thrift stores so it never gets to that point. So the money would be going direct to consumer, and that way we'd be able to cut out having to go sourcing with other people being more competitive, right? Less and less people are doing this. It's free to post an ad. I'm not talking about a paid ad. I'm talking about a free post in a buy and sell group. So, and you just have a quick description here. You can copy this ad. I don't care. We are a local small family business saving clothing from landfills. Over 92 million tons of clothing go into landfills each year. We offer a contactless pickup, schedule a pickup, and just leave in a bag or box outside your door. We offer to meet in person. We also just started accepting mail-ins to send directly to us via USPS, and we pay directly through Venmo, Cash App, or Zelle. And here's the brand list. And you want to put a minimum pickup. You don't just want to be driving around the entire city for one item at a time. So I have a 10-item minimum pickup. That way it's at least worth my time. And you could attach a Calendly link or a Google Calendar link and have available time slots so people could just schedule in the pickup. That way you don't have to deal with anything. They could just schedule a pickup, put their address in, and you go and pick it up. So I turned off even comments for this post because sometimes you get the craziest comments and I don't even want to deal with that. So if they're serious, they could direct message you for whatever. So we buy clothes, cash. All this was made on Canva, very simple. And then you just have a simple brand list. Whatever items you're looking to pick up and put in your store, you're going to want to put a brand list. And you can also mention like, hey, if it's not on the brand list, we'll still take a look. But yeah, that's how it looks. Very simple. Create a Facebook page and then have a brand list written out and try it. Just another. Is this going to be your main source? It could be. It could be a main way for you to source inventory, but maybe it's just an alternative way for you to pick up better items. So, getting into some of the questions. If you guys have questions, comments, leave them in the comment section so I can answer them and help bring you the most value possible. I actually have had a few good questions on the channel lately, which I'll just include in a future video. But the more questions you ask, the more of an opportunity that I can have to help you guys. We're all lifelong learners here. And I just want to be able to take what I've learned through my failures and mistakes and be able to help you guys hit the ground running. F Troop Foxtrot says the thrift store doors open and you're the first in line. What area of the store do you head to first, jeans or jackets? Me and my business, I head to the men's jeans first. I'm trying to bring in more men's jeans than I ever have into my store ever before. My top categories over the past 3 years selling full-time on eBay has always been women's jeans or pants or men's jeans or pants. So I'm going to double down, triple down on those items and specifically more men's clothing in general. So this is what I do. I go to the men's jeans section first. After that, I go to the men's button-up shirts next. And then after that, I go to the women's jeans section next. And then I go to the men's sweaters, polos. And then I go to the women's jackets or sweaters after that. I'm really trying to scale down of women's tops. I'm trying to scale down of just women's items in general. I think the only two categories I hit up in the women's section for the last few weeks has been their jeans and pants and the sweaters. And then other than that, that's it, like sweaters, jackets. But it's like men's jeans first. I always go right to the men's jeans, because that's where my business is being built upon, and that's how it's been built over time. But everyone's different. People want to build a business model off of women's tops, go there first. I'm just trying to be able to, have a more of an opportunity to niche down my store for like the first time ever, like just starting to stray away from women's plus size tops. Um, it is good, but also at the same time, I'm trying to just be able to streamline the process. If you've listed women's tops before, it is just everything takes longer. Looking up the style in general of women's tops, it's like there's a lot to it rather than men's jeans where it's pretty straight, skinny, slim, boot cut, very simple. Where women's, there's probably like 20, 25 varieties of women's tops. So I'm trying to streamline the process as I'm just a one man show. But that's what I would recommend. Figure out what you want to list in your business and go straight to that area in the thrift store. If I sold a brand new pair of shoes with 30-day returns, the customer sends them back with scratches and abusive condition. Does the customer deserve a full return? Yeah. So if you offer free returns for any reason and you sold new shoes and they wore them and then sent them back, this is the part where returns do suck, but you have the opportunity to refund only 50% of the total purchase price. And you will have to relist those items as used, but you're able to at least give them half of a refund. I would never give them a full refund. I would even almost approach eBay through a phone call or chat and saying, do I even have to refund them at all? Because they sent back the shoes. If like they're in damaged condition, you have to throw them away. You want to make that case to eBay and they will hear you out. But that is the part of this business where if you do sell new stuff and you get it back and then they wore it, I would be withholding 50% of the total sales price. That way you at least are not biting the bullet, and then you could just relist those items. Returns happen, even if you don't offer returns in your eBay business, or Poshmark or whatever. Returns are just a part of business, and you're just going to have to do whatever it takes to minimize returns. And people take advantage of people who just, there's people who buy stuff on Amazon all the time. That's why there's literally Amazon liquidation stores, because those are all returns. People just buy stuff and return it, whether they use it or not. So get used to returns in this business, but I would definitely withhold 50% minimum, if someone wore those. So yeah, they're in bins in random order. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, if you're going to like the bins, there's no direct straight line way you would go. You just want to get to digging as fast as possible. But for thrift stores that are actually categorized, I'm going to go to the men's jeans first. Mark says, good to see you back online. Your content is amazing. Appreciate you, Mark. Yeah. Took some time away, a month or two, to train an employee for my other business. And, just being able to kind of go through what I'm going through in my business and share that experience for reselling, I thought can at least bring some value to you guys, value to people who are just starting out, value to people who are just wanting to get going in this business. I'm all about helping people, doing whatever it takes. And I just can't stop that. Like if I'm going through some struggles in my business, which I am, I'm going through a whole change in my business. No more bulk bales, no more storage units, no more buying wholesale. And I'm just niching down and looking into only quality items. I want to share how I'm changing that business so it can help a lot of other people change in their business. So this is why we're talking about one of the most important topics, is that your sourcing is the foundation of your business. The way you source, what you source, how you source is going to determine everything in your reselling business. The days of sourcing one time a week, two times a week are coming to an end because everyone else, your next door neighbor, your grandma, is getting into reselling. And if that's the case, you need to be one step ahead. You need to be going out sourcing more than the next person. This is becoming a volume based business, in which it always has been to some extent, but now more than ever, we need to be doing more reps than the next person. That means getting up at 5 a.m. to go to a yard sale that opens at 7. That means going to a church thrift store mega sale that opens at 8:30. You're there at 7:30. That means going to the bins first. When the bins opens, you're there first. The days of just walking in and wandering in, hoping to find good stuff when it's 12, 1 o'clock are over. In my experience, just in the last couple months, I'm finding less and less quality items the less and less I go sourcing. But if I'm able to go more often, I'm finding better items. And that's just math, right? Like if you go out more, you're gonna find more items, better items. If you go out less, you're not gonna find them as often. It's not like 2012 when, this was not talked about online as much. And I love people who do the BOLO lists and the what solds and the thrift hauls and all that. That's great. It's helpful. But finding the items is 90% of it. You can watch all the BOLO lists and all the thrift hauls, but can you find those items? How can you find those items is going out every single day. I'm going to be trying that sometime in the future where I just go out every day, hit up that same thrift route, and I want to see how many items I can get in that amount of time. There's multiple ways to run this business. Most of us are solopreneurs, single people in our business. So we want to be able to maximize the time that we have. So getting back into it, going over some of the sourcing strategies. And if you guys have questions, just comment below and we're here to help you in any way possible. So we went over what my Facebook ad looks like to be able to post locally in your area. This is what it looks like. Copy it. I don't care. Take a screenshot, make your own, whatever, on Canva. But you're going to want to start a Facebook page. You're going to want to have Chat GPT help you out, write some copy for you to be able to post in these buy and sell groups. And you could certainly put some money behind this ad. Say I have a marketing budget of $250 and start blasting this ad out to local people in your area. Just the moms and grandmas sitting at home knitting or whatever. Whoever sitting at home. Have this ad show up in front of them. So put some marketing behind it and just be able to track the KPIs of how much am I spending to how much did that bring in business. And once you can track that, then you can scale it and monetize it further. So we buy clothes, simple. I would just start with the free ads, posting in buy and sell groups. So that was that. Another option we'll get into, starting your own thrift store. Just seeing it hands on with one of my friends, one of my brothers, Parker Hayes, about a year and a half ago, started this idea of starting his own thrift store. And it was in downtown Eugene here in Oregon. And it was a very college trendy town where this applied really well. Thrift stores were gouging people. I mean, my local thrift store minimum pair of jeans is $15 for Old Navy. So he had the idea of like, well, hey, let's undercut all these thrift stores and start bringing in bales, sorting them, and putting those items for sale. So if you're able to buy bales from somewhere or source inventory in bulk and start your own thrift store and advertise that you're accepting donations, and once you start getting the cause out there as to why, thrift stores are charging almost as much as retail stores. You could go to Walmart and buy a pair of Wrangler jeans for brand new for $19, and then you can go to Goodwill and buy a used pair for $15. So if you're able to just be able to start this. It's not as easy as it sounds because it takes a lot of grit and work. But once you get it rolling, then you're able to cherry pick some of those best items and maybe hire out a manager, hire out a sales director, a marketer for that business so it can kind of start to run on its own. Um, and if you're buying bulk bales for 15 cents a pound, and you're turning around and selling those items for $1, $2, $3, your business is going to start gaining traction. So Parker with Ghost Town Outfitters did something exactly the same, is buying these items for super cheap. 80% of the items get recycled back to a major recycler that does porch pickups, and then 20% of those bales get sold in the store. Vintage items, great items, new with tag items that are just thrown in these bales. So one of the benefits is being able as an owner to cherry pick some of this inventory. So starting your own thrift store, so you're able to cherry pick the best items that come from these donations. I've been able to go down there and see firsthand, what are in these bales, and it is just shocking that these items, where these bales are headed to, are to textile recycling companies that cut them up for shop towels and rags. But if you're able to get in between that connection, you're able to source items that are like that would end up, get thrown away. So sell remaining inventory. So that's what I was saying. Like, hey, not everything in a bulk bale or a wholesale bale is going to be good. But if you have a way to distribute those items that you wouldn't personally be listing in your Poshmark closet or your eBay store, you could then sell publicly in your brick and mortar store. Even Tech and Sports does something very similar where he has stuff come in bulk to him, or at least used to. And any items that were eBayable went on eBay. Any items that weren't went into his brick and mortar. So you got to have different avenues for the items that you get. But this is an option, not an option for most people. But if you have capital to invest and put into your business, this is what I would be seeing as an option. It's something I've considered, um, and maybe you just do it on the side. There's multiple ways. You don't have to do a brick and mortar store. If you didn't do the brick and mortar store, you would do the Facebook ad. That way, you could keep your costs and overhead down. Sourcing strategies and overview. So, just kind of going over, if you guys are just jumping in here, you want to be first. You want to be first in line. You want to be first at the thrift store, at the yard sale, at the Goodwill bins. Just being second or third or fourth is just not cutting it anymore. You're going to have so many more people running in ahead of you that are just as knowledgeable as you or more because they're there first, and they're going to pick everything that the things that you could have had. So source more often and be first in line. If you can't be first, then just source more often. Just go every other day, develop that route, and then compare your results versus going out maybe just once a week. Building relationships can be something that is long term for you. Once you establish relationships with a rag house, with a thrift store, with a supplier that does wholesale, then you can be able to grow your business and track those KPIs for the growth of your business. Because sometimes you've known, as you guys go out to thrift stores, it's not always the same. You're not always finding 20 items at this thrift store. Some days it may be just 5 items. So the inconsistency is there. It just becomes more and more inconsistent the less and less you go out. So by developing a relationship with a bigger business, you can have more consistency in your business. So build that relationship. It's key for long-term growth in this business. Expanding online, doing things like Facebook ads, and then reaching out to textile recyclers, cold calling thrift stores. Just get on the phone. Don't be scared. Do it. You do it for the next generation. Think about how many people are in fear when it comes to just talking to people. People don't like telling them other people that are resellers and whatever, but being vocal and being able to stir up some business is going to be key for getting ahead in this business, because this business is expected to grow year over year over year, more supply, more demand. So we need to be able to sharpen our skills for the long run. Um, and then owning your own thrift store is going to be a nice way, could be potential for people to, whether you sell hard goods, sports cards, whatever, just having a thrift store may be a way for you to bring in inventory and cherry pick those items and eventually hiring out all those processes to run on its own. Like another option, side note, would be like a junk removal service. Definitely a lot more logistics that go into it, but it is an option for people, not for everyone. So sourcing frequency. So you want to be able to, build ads, go weekly, go to thrift stores daily, um, build these relationships all the time, um, and seeing what works for you, because we all live in different areas. If we're all living in different areas, then it's going to be different for everybody. Like I live very rural, so I kind of made this presentation based on someone who lives rural, not close to a bins, not close to a lot of thrift stores. So that's why I got to go the online route and maybe reaching out to suppliers so I can at least pick up stuff that is being cherry picked for me. And if I'm already paying $5, $7, $8 to a thrift store, I don't mind paying a wholesale supplier that's going to make me a curated bale or a curated box of items. So that's what I would consider. I want to be able to just help you guys with your sourcing. It's something that we all do and go through on a daily basis. And it's a pivotal foundational part to our business. There should be no slacking when it comes to sourcing. And take it from me, from a person who tried to be a little bit more lax in my sourcing, and it hurt my business. I'm doing $10,000 sales in a month where I was usually doing $15,000 in sales a month. So having that 33% decrease in sales is what I'm not only attributing to some of the problems that have been happening on eBay, but if I had just been focusing on the best items possible, that's where I could have learned. You see people on eBay that are crushing it. It's because they're picking up good items. So if you could start to get into that lane and develop that strategy, that's what's going to help you continue to grow your business. So researching, identify target items, locations, and suppliers, whether that's through retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, hitting up those thrift stores every day. There's multiple ways to build this business. And building relationships, so connecting with the thrift store, the suppliers, and the recyclers, sourcing inventory, regularly visiting these locations, and responding to ads and acquire items. You could also create a Facebook search where I put like lot of clothing, a lot of clothing, bulk clothing. So every time that post comes out, I get pinged of that search term so I could at least look at what other people have for sale. Process and sell. So prepare sourced items, list them for sale. Yeah, of course. So yeah, this is a main thing too, is you never want to overbuy. Whenever I go sourcing, like say I went sourcing today and I only found 23 items, I list 20 items a day. So that means I'm only gonna have 3 items held over for tomorrow. So tomorrow I would go out sourcing and I needed to hit a minimum of 17 items. So I'm only sourcing what I need. And at the most, I'm trying to source for the week, but I'm still going to be going out. I never want to be spending more than half of my income that I'm making in my reselling business. And ideally, it needs to be like a quarter. If you're making $1,000 a week, reselling, you want to allocate $250 per week for your spend. And that's plus or minus. If it could be up to 50%, you just never want to spend more than you're making per week, because then your business isn't growing and you're investing into all these items that are tying up capital, which can end up killing your business in the long run. That's why you want to start slow. So early access is these key advantages for being first in the thrift store or wherever it may be. So why we want to be first is because it gives us the best opportunity to find the best items. And all this may seem redundant, and you're like, Bo, I already know this. I'm focusing on helping the people that want to get into reselling or that are just starting out and that are having a hard time finding items. You're going to want to do these. These are like principles for your growth and for the sake of your business, is you want to apply these principles, because if not, the next person will. and you will never be able to find good items. So bulk discounts. So building supplier relationships allows bulk purchasing in at smaller amount, price wise. So that's what would intrigue me most about buying in bulk, is being able to buy things for cheaper, but also you need to understand that on the back end, like, you're going to be sorting through these items, you're going to be spending a lot more time processing, and I never liked that. I tried that for 3 months, and not only is it more physical, because you're sorting through thousands of items every week, but your return on your time is just not there. Um, Control inventory. So owning a thrift store allows you to cherry pick and control the inventory. So if you were to go down that route and start a brick and mortar store, you got to also calculate the cost versus the return. It may be an investment that you wouldn't see a return for quite some time. So that is definitely a risk you need to calculate. That's why the Facebook ad is appealing, because it's no money out of pocket and you can post that ad everywhere. So diversifying your sourcing channels. So using multiple sourcing channels expands your reach. So you may want to try all these. You may want to niche down in just one or two, but we all, as business owners in general, have to work on our marketing to be able to find the best items. How are we marketing? How are we getting our items? You could essentially hire a cold caller for $4 an hour in the Philippines, and then download a list of the entire city population and give that cold caller the list and start calling every single house saying, "We buy clothes, we're looking for these items." There's many ways to source and market in this business, and you need to think outside the box these days. Just walking into a thrift store, is going to be more and more competitive. The lines are going to grow and grow and grow. So we need to think outside the box. How can we build a business to consumer? How can we build a business to business relationships long term for us to be able to succeed in these businesses? Working in the business is great, but I want to be able to build my business to where I'm working on the business. I want to be able to take some standard operating procedures of this business, hire a CEO, give them those procedures, and say execute. That's going to allow you to be able to go and build other businesses. Working in the business is great to start, but you need to start thinking, how can I work on the business rather than in the business? Because essentially you're just a W-2 employee. So you want to eventually think in foresight, long term, how can I build this structure, these systems, so I can eventually hire someone to run it all, and I can go start another business. There's profit to be made as a reseller. Now we need to figure out long term, are we going to be doing this for 20 years? No, you shouldn't be thinking that way. If you guys are watching this on the replay and you have questions, just drop them in the comment section. I'm here to help you go further, faster. If you guys are wanting maybe a little bit of resources, I do have a Bolo brand list down below. I have an item specifics guide down below, and you can check it out. So if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, if you have questions, help, you can find it on my YouTube channel. There should be a link somewhere to go to my Instagram. But yeah, here to just serve you guys. Going to be bringing more sourcing to the channel. Going to be bringing more day in the life to the channel, to be able to just show you what it's really like. Yes, there's struggles. Yes, there's problems. Yes, there's failures. And being hiding those is not going to help anyone. It's not going to help me explain through it, and it's not going to help people. If I'm just showing all the highlights and all the good stuff, that's teaching, but also too, I think people learn more when you see through the failures and the things that are going wrong, because people learn from that, seeing that and not doing it right. Because everyone can do what everyone's doing, like as far as success, but the learning opportunities through the failures are even more gold nuggets, so you can avoid those in the future. But yeah, if you guys caught this on the replay, leave a question. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a blessed weekend, and we'll catch you next week. Take care.